I think Mr. Odinga is going to lose this election in Addis Ababa, and I think I'm the only one who thinks that. I will be shocked if he gets even a slim majority.
I don't think Mr. Odinga is going to win these elections. This is coming from a Kenyan diplomat. According to him, Mr. Raila Odinga will not win the African Union chairperson. You know, as me and you know, the African Union, they will be electing a new chairperson. The current chairperson, Musa Faki, tenure of office is finishing very soon. So we're going to elect a new chairperson. And who is African Union chairperson? In a nutshell, African Union chairperson is the ceremonial president of Africa. So we're going to be having elections, I think, in February somewhere. And the front runners are Raila Odinga of Kenya and Mahamoud Ali from Djibouti, the Djibouti foreign minister. They are the front runners, even though there are about 4 contenders for this particular position. But these 2 are the front runners. And this Kenyan, you think he would have been supporting Raila Odinga, which he is doing, but he thinks that Raila Odinga will not win. And not because he's not capable, not because he's not competent, but it's because of the French influence in African body politics, internal affairs, African internal affairs. The French has too much power over us. And this is the reason why we are saying this generation of Africans, we must do everything to stop these colonial criminals from having influence over us, our internal affairs. We can only do that by uniting the continent of Africa. As long as Africa is not united, these colonialists will continue to have influence over us. So we must unite the continent of Africa in order to gain that power that we can stand up and say enough is enough to these people. Why must France have influence over our internal affairs? So I want us to go and listen to his full interview. But before we do that, I would like to say big thank you to all of you who are supporting our mission, One Africa Mission. Those of you sharing what we are doing, those of you passing your comments, liking the videos. We really appreciate your support. And those of you who haven't really got time out of your busy schedules to do that, please do not just watch it. Because sometimes you see 40, 50 people watching the video with 0 like or 0 comments. Please don't do that to us. We are learning a lot from your comments. Pass your comments, like the video. Let us all together bring our energies to bring an end or to put a stop to this colonial influence over us as African people. I want us to go and listen to him as he talk about how the French are having influence over our internal affairs. But before we do that, you know what we should do? Let us go and listen to Raila Odinga and that of Mahamoud Ali from Djibouti. Let's listen to them and see if one of them, and decide one of them who should lead us as African people. Let's listen to them, come back and talk about it.
Well, we know where we are as African Union, and that's why the heads of state came up with that committee on reforms, which was headed by former president, current Rwanda President Kagame. The chairmanship has now been passed over to Honorable William Ruto, President of Kenya. I have had long discussions with President Kagame when he was chairing that committee, because I was working as a high representative of the AU on issues of infrastructure. And I know the kind of frustrations that you feel working that way. I know that 93% of the resolutions that are passed by the heads of state at the assembly are never implemented. Now, there's some of them are resolutions which were probably not necessary. Some of them are not implementable, but majority of them are just not implemented. Some have to do with the structure and management of the AU at the headquarters. I'm not trying to pass any judgment here because I know that Mr. Faki has worked very hard to try to make the organization move forward. The other one has been the issue of funding, which has been a major challenge, and look at other alternative sources of funding. When I was there as high rep on infrastructure development, we came up with a proposal to set up an infrastructure fund for Africa, and using the African resources, because many of African countries have got a lot of money in sovereign funds, from which the AU can actually borrow without having to pay so much high interest. And this will help AU actually to spearhead the process of constructing some of these infrastructures. I mentioned the Trans-African Railway network, Lagos to Cairo, the high speed. Then you have got Beira in Mozambique, to Lobito in Angola, and Walvis Bay in Namibia. Then you have got the Lapset, which will come from Lamu in Kenya, running through South Sudan, Central Africa to Caribbean Cameroon, to create a land bridge that opens the interior of Africa and gives these landlocked countries in the continent access to the sea. So some of these are possible, but we need to think out of the box and ensure that most of these reforms which are being proposed are implemented. We were talking about energy, which is a very major issue. And we have got the Grand Inga in the Congo, which can actually power the entire continent with power pools, southern power pool, eastern power pool, central, western, and northern power pool. That will help us to lower the cost of energy in the continent. That would be a revolutionary change in the continent. Then you've got the connectivity, fiber optic connectivity, open skies, opening up the skies for movement of people. And then visas, to do with visas are a big issue. Many African businessmen cannot travel across the continent without, because they don't have visas.
Excellency.
Yes, so that was Baba Raila Odinga from Kenya. He is an experienced politician, and then we all know him. That was him. Do you think he deserved to be the African Union chairperson? Okay, let's listen to the Muhammad Ali from Djibouti as well. Come back and then talk about it.
In the Guns is a flagship program, one of the 15 that our leaders have endorsed years ago. And then they put a number of mechanisms and structure around this flagship program so that peace becomes a reality on our continent. The first structure is the African Peace and Security Architecture. And then we have the strategy that we all know, Silencing the Guns. And to support this strategy, the African Union put in place a number of mechanisms. One of them is the Peace and Security Council. The other one is the Committee of Elders, the Committee of Chief of Staff. We have the Peace Fund, and we can rely on every kind of mechanism. So why is peace is not, let's say, a reality on the ground on our continent? There are a number of reasons. One of them is the political will of countries. We have to be outspoken and frank. We make decisions at the Peace and Security Council level. These decisions are not implemented. Our Peace and Security Council is not proactive. It is reacting to crises when they occur and happen. This has to change. And I'm sending a message to our member countries saying this has to change. The number two problem that we have to face is our standby forces. We have them on the papers. Of course, sometimes we can mobilize them, but they lack resources. We are still relying on foreign partnership for our resources. Let me give you an example. AMISOM. Since 2007, AMISOM has been financed by the European Union and the United Nations, up to 2.7 billion euros. Now, financial resources are critical. Why should we have the money so that we can operate on crisis ground on the continent? Because without money, we cannot deploy our standby forces. Without money, even the committee of mediators cannot go and discuss with the stakeholders. They sometimes wait for the tickets, the per diems, days and days and days. It's very critical that the peace fund, in which we have $400 million, that the Commission and the PRC, get to the compromise situation where that money could be used for peace on the continent. So far, only the interest of the 400 millions are used. And I'm really shameful when I say, DRC have been given 1 million for peace, issues through this fund. And they have given to, I don't know, another country 1.5 million. It has to change. We need the authority from the member countries so that we can use this money, the $400 million, to keep peace on our continent. There are so many other bottlenecks that needs to be handled very quickly. But money is one of them. The Peace and Security Council mission is the second problem. And then we have a third one. This one also has to be underlined very, very seriously. When a crisis happens, I give you the example of Somalia. I've been around for some time. I've been dealing with this problem for many years. When there is no unity of purpose between the countries around this country, neighboring countries, this country will never stand on its feet. That's what we are experiencing today in the Sudan. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed, millions displaced. Neighboring countries are still fighting on the Sudan, and the African Union and IGAD are watching.
Yes, so you listen to the both of them. I think they are all capable. They are all well qualified to be the chairperson or the president of Africa. They all qualify to be the chairperson of the African Union. But what our brother is saying here, what this diplomat is saying here is that the French will not allow Raila Odinga to become the chairperson of the African Union. Let's listen to him also, come back, and then conclude our talk.
I think Mr. Odinga is going to lose this election in Addis Ababa, and I think I'm the only one who thinks that. I will be shocked if he gets even a slim majority. I think the candidate from Djibouti is going to win a landslide. One of the biggest influences of the AU is the French. Now, Amina and I, we knew we were going to win. And then the French government intervened heavily in those elections. And we lost. We even had the support of Djibouti. This Djibouti that is standing here today, one of the people who stabbed us in the back in that election. I think that the same scenario is what is going to happen in the AU. I think the French, the Sahel areas, major states in Central Africa are going to stand up to the candidature of Mr. Odinga and say no.
Yes, so you all heard him. According to him, the reason why Raila Odinga will not be the chairperson of the African Union is not because he's not qualified, but it's because of the influence by the French on African internal affairs. And then we all know this. Even during the term of 4 years ago, Mama Arikana Chiumburu wanted to contest and challenge Moussa Faki. And the way and manner the French manipulated, because we all know the stance of Mama Arikana when it comes to the French. Mama has been exposing them for many years. And because of that reason, a citizen of Africa, Mama Arikana, was denied the opportunity to contest for the African Union chairpersonship. She was denied to contest for the African Union, to become the African Union chairperson by the French. So the French has that power over their former colonies in Africa. The ECOWAS, as I said, ECOWAS is struggling because of the French. The Pan-African Parliament, they had issues because of the French.
We'll never have a difficulty on application of a principle that will unite Africans. Yes. And that's what this body is about. Yes. So it is so embarrassing that former leaders of this institution can do everything in their power to divide this institution and to undermine the legitimacy of this institution. You can use your majority and keep this power and this presidency in your regions. And if that is the unity of Africa you are talking about, that power must only circulate in your regions, go on with it. But be aware that you are serving the interest of imperialism that seeks to keep us divided. The unity of this continent will not wait for ratification of anything. The unity of this continent needs us to apply it as in yesterday. We don't require any ratification of anything for us to be united. And anyone who says we require ratification, that person doesn't know what unity is about. Unity is about us coming together with a paper or no paper. When you see an African saying...
Because for the French colonies, before you will support any resolution by the Pan-African Parliament, you have to first of all go to France for the French to tell you what to do before you will come and make a decision. Can you believe that? And this is the reason why we are saying, with this generation of Africans, if we don't come together, put aside whatever differences we think we have, if we don't put it aside and come together and unite the continent of Africa so that we can have the power to stand toe-to-toe with these colonial criminals, they will continue to dictate to us. And for our children and our great-grandchildren, they will continue to dictate the future or the destiny of Africa for them. Why must France decide who should be the president of Africa? And a continent of 1.8 billion people, because we mostly say, most of the time we say 1.4 billion people. A continent of 1.8 billion people, a country less than 100 million people is dictating as to who should be our leader. You see why we are saying the Berlin Conference is well and alive when it comes to the affairs of Africa as we speak today. What they went to Berlin and did to us is still alive. Nothing has changed. That is the reason why you will see the French having the guts to decide as to who should be our chairperson. Now, I am not taking out the fact that the Djibouti foreign minister is capable of leading us as African people. He's capable of leading us. And if he win the elections, it's fair enough because he's capable, just as Baba Odinga. But why must the French have influence over our internal affairs? That is my issue. That is my problem, just as the man is saying. Some time ago, they had the same issue. They thought they were winning until the French came in and said, no, this is the person we want, because this is the person that we can have control over. And true, their candidate won. And today, as we speak, we are having a new elections again, and the French will still have influence over that. What can we do to bring an end to that? Is by uniting the continent of Africa, period. You can say whatever you want to say. As long as Africa is not united, I am telling you, 200-300 years to come, our great-great-grandchildren will still be having this same conversation as to how they are being controlled by their colonial criminals. With this generation of Africans, we have the chance never before afforded to any generation of Africans to bring an end to this so that the destiny of Africa will be determined by the children of Africa. Let's do it. Let's bring our energies together. Let's forget about whatever differences we think we have. At the end of the day, the people who are exploiting the continent of Africa, the people who are taking advantage of our disunity, they don't care about whatever differences we have. All that they want is to continue to explore the continent of Africa for free. Let us bring an end to that so that future generation of Africans can also live a life of dignity, just as other people are living all over the world. Let's do it. For not just for us, but for the next generation of Africans. So as I keep saying, please, if you appreciate what we are doing, One Africa Mission, the number one African mission, we are on a mission, and our mission is all about our unity as African people and our dignity as a race. If you appreciate what we are doing, please don't hesitate to support our mission. How do you support us? Just share our videos. Subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And also pass your comments. I keep saying it, your comments are very important. But let me know in the comment section, in your opinion, do you think between Baba Raila Odinga and Mahamoud Ali from Djibouti, which one of them do you think deserve to be our next president as Africans or our next chairperson? I thank you very much for coming around. Until we meet again, I am your missionary brother, the number one missionary brother in Africa. Brother Dobia Anzansi. Let us live a dignified Africa for the next generation of Africans. Thank you.